Tae-young wiped down the bar counter for the third time that hour. The rag in his hand was already clean, but it gave him something to do while he watched the entrance. Security work on Viridian Station paid poorly, but it kept him fed and invisible. That was all he wanted these days. The station hummed with life around him. Aliens of every shape and size walked past the small bar where he worked part-time. The Voss with their scaled skin and sharp teeth. The floating lumens that glowed soft blue. The insect-like trill that clicked and chirped at each other. Humans were rare here. Most of his kind had given up on space after the war ended 30 years ago. A shadow fell across the counter. Tae-young looked up to see a massive Voss staring down at him. The alien wore armor marked with mercenary guild symbols. His yellow eyes studied Tae-young with the intensity of a predator. "You are the human called Tae-young?" the Voss asked. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I am. My name is Dax. I have work for someone who can handle a weapon and keep quiet." "The pay is good." Tae-young set down his rag. "What kind of work?" "Escort duty. 3 days to the outer rim and back. Simple cargo protection." Dax placed a credit chip on the counter. "Half now, half when we return." Tae-young picked up the chip and checked the amount. It was more than he made in 2 months at the bar. Too much for a simple escort job. That meant trouble. But trouble paid better than peace. "When do we leave?" he asked. 2 hours. "Dock 7. Dax turned to leave, then paused. "Bring your own weapons. And human. Do not make me regret hiring you." After Dax left, Tae-young finished his shift and headed to his small quarters in the station's lower levels. The room was barely large enough for a bed and a locker. He opened the locker and pulled out a long case from the back. Inside lay weapons he had not touched in years. A plasma rifle, 2 sidearms and several knives. He checked each one carefully, his hands moving with old familiar motions. At the dock, Dax's ship waited. It was a medium freighter, scarred and patched, but space-worthy. 3 other mercenaries stood near the loading ramp. They eyed Tae-young with suspicion. Humans had a reputation as weak in the galaxy. The war had proven that, or so everyone believed. The trip started quietly. Tae-young kept to himself in the small crew quarters. The other mercenaries ignored him, which suited him fine. He spent his time checking his weapons and sleeping. Old soldier habits died hard. On the second day, the ship stopped at a refueling station. While the crew loaded supplies, Tae-young went to the station's medical bay. A piece of metal from the cargo hold had cut his arm during some turbulence. It was a small wound, but it needed cleaning. The medical technician was human, a young woman with tired eyes and gentle hands. Her name tag read G1. "Another mercenary?" she asked as she cleaned the cut. "We get a lot of those through here." "Just trying to make a living," Tae-young replied. G1 applied the bandage, but her hand stopped suddenly. She was staring at his arm, at the scars that ran along his skin in patterns. "Scars that should not exist anymore, these marks," she whispered. "I have only seen them in old medical texts. Military augmentation scars. But those were outlawed after the war." Tae-young pulled his arm away and rolled down his sleeve. "You are mistaken. I am not." Ji-won's voice was quiet but firm. "I studied war medicine. Those scars are from neural and muscular enhancement procedures." "Who are you really?" "Just a mercenary," Tae-young said. He stood and left before she could ask more questions. The ship left the station an hour later. Tae-young tried to sleep but could not. Ji-won's words echoed in his mind. He had been so careful for so long. One moment of carelessness and now someone new. He hoped she would forget. People usually did not want to dig too deep into things that scared them. On the 3rd day, everything went wrong. The ship was passing through an asteroid field when the alarms blared. Dax's voice came over the intercom. "Pirates. Krill raiders, 3 ships incoming. Everyone to defensive positions." The Krill were the worst. Brutal, efficient, and they hated humans with a passion that went beyond normal rivalry. They had led the coalition that crushed humanity in the war. Tae-young grabbed his rifle and ran to the cargo bay where the others were gathering. Through the viewport, he could see the raider ships closing in. They were small and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks. The first boarding pod slammed into the hull with a sound like thunder. Then another. And another. The cargo bay door shook as something cut through it from the outside. The other mercenaries raised their weapons, fear clear on their faces. The door exploded inward. Krill pirates poured through, their chitinous armor gleaming in the ship's lights. They moved like a swarm, fast and coordinated. They carried plasma weapons and razor-sharp blades. The first wave hit the mercenaries hard. 2 went down immediately. Dax roared and fired his weapon, dropping 1 krill. But there were too many. Tae-young moved without thinking. 30 years disappeared in an instant. His body remembered what his mind tried to forget. He fired twice, precise shots that found gaps in krill armor. 2 pirates fell. He rolled behind a cargo container as plasma bolts scorched the air where he had been standing. A krill warrior charged him with a blade raised high. Tae-young ducked under the swing, came up inside the alien's guard and drove his knife into the weak point under its arm. The krill fell without a sound. 3 more rushed him together. He dropped the first with a shot to the throat, grabbed the second one's weapon arm and broke it, then used the screaming krill as a shield against the third. He kicked the makeshift shield into the third warrior, sending them both tumbling. 2 shots finished them. The cargo bay fell silent. Bodies lay everywhere. The surviving mercenaries stared at Tae-young with wide eyes. In less than a minute, he had killed 8 krill warriors, professional killers who had terrorized the outer rim for years. 1 krill was still alive, bleeding out against the wall. Its breathing was wet and labored. Dax approached it carefully, his weapon ready. The dying alien looked up at Tae-young and spoke in its native tongue. A string of clicking, hissing words. Dax's scales went pale. He turned to Tae-young slowly, and his voice shook when he spoke. He asked if you are him, if you are the Reaper. Tae-young said nothing. He reloaded his rifle and checked his knife for damage. His hands were steady, but inside his heart was racing. That name, that cursed name he had tried to bury for 3 decades, are you? Dax demanded. Are you the Reaper? The other mercenaries whispered to each other. Even species that did not fight in the war knew the stories. The human soldier who held off an entire battalion alone. The ghost who walked through krill warriors like they were nothing. The legend that humanity told itself to feel strong when they had lost everything. Tae-young looked at Dax and saw the fear in the alien's eyes. The same fear he had seen 30 years ago on a different battlefield. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and walked toward the door. You should patch that hull breach, he said quietly. More raiders might come. He did not answer the question, but his silence told Dax everything he needed to know. Dax could not sleep. He lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling while the ship hummed through space. In his hand was a data pad, and on that pad was everything he could find about the legend called the Reaper. Most of it was rumor and myth. The kind of story soldiers told to scare each other. But some records were official. Battle reports from the contact war, casualty lists, witness statements. And at the center of it all was one name that appeared over and over, the Battle of Proxima Gate. 30 years ago, humanity had fought a losing war against the Galactic Coalition. They were outmatched in every way. Weaker ships, fewer soldiers, inferior technology. World after world fell to coalition forces. The krill led the assault, eager to prove their strength against the newcomer species. Proxima Gate was supposed to be humanity's last stand, a fortress protecting Earth's outer colonies. 5,000 human soldiers held the station against a krill fleet of 30 warships. The battle lasted 3 days. On the 3rd day, the krill boarded the station. What happened next was unclear. Reports conflicted. Some said a single human soldier held the main corridor for 6 hours while civilians evacuated. Others said it was a whole unit. But every krill who survived told the same story. They spoke of a human who would not die, who moved through smoke and darkness like death itself, who killed with cold precision and left bodies in his wake. The krill called him the Reaper. They said he was more machine than man, that he felt no pain, that bullets passed through him like he was a ghost. By the time krill reinforcements secured the station, over 200 of their warriors lay dead, and the Reaper was gone. Humanity lost the war anyway. Proxima Gate bought time, nothing more. But the legend remained. Parents told their children about the Reaper. Veterans whispered his name in bars. He became the symbol of human resistance, the proof that humans could fight back. But there were other records. Classified ones that Dax found in black market data stores. Records about Project Talon, a secret military program that created enhanced soldiers. They used illegal technology to augment human bodies. Neural accelerators, muscle weaving, bone reinforcement. The subjects became faster, stronger, more durable than normal humans. The project was shut down after the war. Most subjects died from the procedures. The rest were listed as deceased in official records. Their bodies were too damaged. The augmentations were burning them out from the inside. Dax looked across the crew quarters to where Tae-young slept. The human looked ordinary, middle-aged, scarred, but not unusual for a mercenary. Yet Dax had watched him kill 8 krill pirates in under a minute. Watched him move with speed and precision that should not be possible. "You are him," Dax whispered to the darkness. "You are the Reaper," the ship's computer chimed. New messages had arrived during their last communication relay. Dax opened them and felt his blood run cold. Word had spread. Someone at the refueling station had talked. Maybe that human doctor. Maybe someone who saw the bodies in the cargo bay. It did not matter. Everyone knew a human matching the Reaper's description was traveling through the Outer Rim, and everyone who had fought in the war wanted to know if it was true. 30 years ago on Proxima Gate, Tae-young was running, not from the enemy, toward them. His body burned with pain from the augmentations. Every nerve felt like fire. But he could not stop. Behind him were the evacuation shuttles. In front of him were thousands of krill warriors pushing through the station corridors. His unit was gone. All of them. Hyunwoo had died in the first boarding wave. A plasma bolt through his chest. Sujin had held the command deck until the krill overran it. The others fell one by one, buying minutes for the civilians to escape. Now it was just Tae-young in the long corridor. He could hear the krill coming. Their clicking voices, their heavy footsteps. He checked his weapons. 2 rifles, nearly empty. 1 sidearm, 4 grenades. Not enough. Never enough. But he had to try. The first krill came around the corner and Tae-young shot him. Then the next. And the next. They kept coming. An endless stream of armored bodies pushing forward. He fell back step by step, firing, reloading, firing again. When the rifles ran empty, he used the sidearm. When the sidearm clicked empty, he used grenades. When the grenades were gone, he used a knife. Time lost meaning. His augmented body kept moving past the point where a normal human would collapse. He felt bones crack and muscles tear. Felt blood running down his face from wounds he could not remember receiving. But he could not stop. Would not stop. Not while the shuttles still needed time. A krill commander finally stopped the advance. Ordered his warriors to hold position. They could go around through other corridors. Let this one human die alone in his corridor. But the delay gave the shuttles the time they needed. By the time the krill pushed forward again, the last shuttle had jumped to hyperspace. Tae-young collapsed. He expected to die there, wanted to die there with the rest of his unit, but his augmented body refused to quit. It kept his heart beating, kept his lungs breathing. When the krill finally found him hours later, barely conscious in a pool of blood, they stared at him like he was something unnatural. They left him there, too afraid to get close. Later, a human rescue team found him and pulled him out. He was the only survivor from his unit. Present day. Tae-young woke with a gasp. The old nightmare again. It never really left him. He sat up in his bunk and noticed Dax watching him from across the room. "You have nightmares," Dax said. It was not a question. "Everyone has nightmares," Tae-young replied. "Not everyone fought at Proxima Gate." Tae-young said nothing. He stood and walked to the small bathroom, washed his face with cold water. In the mirror, he saw an old soldier. Tired, scarred, nothing special. Just a man who refused to die when he should have. The ship's intercom crackled. "We are approaching the delivery point," the pilot announced. "Prepare for landing." 20 minutes later, they landed on New Jeju, a small human colony world struggling to survive in the outer territories. The buildings were prefab units scattered across rocky ground. A few hundred people trying to make a life on a planet nobody else wanted. Dax's cargo was weapons. Illegal military-grade arms being smuggled to someone on the surface. Tae-young had suspected as much. Legal cargo did not pay what Dax offered. A woman met them at the landing pad. She was human, tall and lean with sharp eyes. She wore combat gear marked with resistance symbols. Behind her stood a dozen fighters, all armed and alert. "I am Bora," she said. "You have what we ordered?" Dax nodded toward the cargo hold. "Everything on the list. Now about payment." Bora was not looking at Dax, she was staring at Tae-young. Her eyes went wide. "You," she whispered. "I know you. I have seen your face in old war photos. You are him. You are the Reaper." Before Tae-young could respond, the sky above them lit up with fire. A massive ship dropped out of hyperspace. Then another. And another. 10 warships surrounded the planet, their weapons trained on the surface. The lead ship broadcast a message that echoed across the colony. The voice was Krill. deep and filled with hatred. Humans of New Jeju, we have come for the one you call the Reaper. Surrender him to us within 1 hour, or we will destroy your colony from orbit. Commander Vreth has spoken. Bora grabbed Tae-young's arm. Is it true? Are you really him? Tae-young looked up at the ships, at the weapons that could turn this small colony into ash, at the people running in panic toward shelters. He thought about running. He had been running for 30 years. What was one more time? But then he saw a child crying as her mother pulled her toward safety. Saw old people struggling to move fast enough. Saw young fighters like Bora who wanted to believe humanity could still matter in the galaxy. Yes, he said quietly, I am the Reaper. The words felt like a death sentence. Not for him. He had died 30 years ago on Proxima Gate. But for all these people whose only crime was being human in a galaxy that did not care about them. Jiwon's face flashed through his mind. The young doctor who recognized his scars. She would hear about this. Would know she was right. Would know that the broken man she treated was once the most dangerous human alive. The hour ticked down. Vreth's ships waited in orbit like vultures, and Tae-young stood on the landing pad, wondering if this time he could save anyone at all. Bora's command center was underground, a converted mining facility now filled with communication equipment and weapons. Her fighters had brought Tae-young here after the broadcast. They moved him like he was precious cargo. Some looked at him with hope. Others with fear. All of them believed the legend. We will not hand you over, Bora said. She stood at a tactical display showing the 10 krill ships in orbit. This is our world. We do not bow to them anymore. Then they will destroy you, Tae-young replied. Vreth is not making empty threats. You know him? I know what he is. A krill commander who survived Proxima Gate. He watched his warriors die and could not stop it. Men like him do not forget that kind of shame. Young Sik, Bora's second-in-command, slammed his fist on the table. So what, we just give up? Hand over the one human who ever made them afraid? He pointed at Tae-young. You are a symbol. You matter. I am not a symbol, Tae-young said quietly. I am just a man who survived when better people died. The room fell silent. Nobody knew what to say to that. The legend of the Reaper did not include doubt or regret. Legends were simple. Heroes and villains. Good and evil. The reality was messier, a technician called out from her station. Commander Bora, we have an incoming ship. Small diplomatic vessel requesting permission to land. Who is it? Elder Kethis. The mediator, Bora frowned. Let him land. Maybe he can talk sense into Vreth. 20 minutes later, Elder Kethis entered the command center. He was a lumen, his body glowing soft blue in the dim light. Lumens were known for their wisdom and neutrality. Kethis had spent 40 years working to improve humanity's position in the galaxy. This situation is grave, Kethis said. Commander Vreth refuses to negotiate. He wants the Reaper and only the Reaper. Nothing else matters to him. Then he will be disappointed, Bora said. Kethis looked at Tae-young. Is it true? Are you the soldier from Proxima Gate? Yes. Then you understand what is at stake. Vreth's obsession with you has consumed him. He has been hunting rumors of your survival for decades. Now that he knows you live, he will not stop, even if it means destroying this colony. Tae-young walked to the window overlooking the colony. Even underground, he could see it on the monitors. Families hiding in shelters, children crying, people preparing for death. Because of him. Because he could not die when he was supposed to. I will turn myself in, he said. No. Bora grabbed his arm. That is exactly what he wants. He wants me dead, fine, better one death than 1,000, and you think he will just kill you? Young Sik laughed bitterly. He will make an example of you, torture you, broadcast it across the galaxy, show everyone that humanity's greatest warrior was just a man who could break like anyone else. Tae-young knew Young Sik was right, but what choice was there? He looked at the ships on the display. 10 warships, thousands of krill warriors. The colony had maybe 200 fighters with outdated weapons. It was not a battle. It was a massacre waiting to happen, unless he changed the terms. I need access to your communication system, Tae-young said, and a small shuttle. Fast and maneuverable, and what are you planning? Bora asked, something stupid, but it is the only chance this colony has. An hour later, Tae-young sat in a small shuttle on the landing pad. The colony had given him their fastest ship. It was old but well-maintained. Good engines. Decent shields. No weapons except what he brought himself. Jiwon appeared at the shuttle door. She must have heard what was happening and caught a transport from the station. "You are really going to fly up there alone?" she asked. "Someone has to. This is insane. You will die." "Maybe. Probably." Tae-young checked his weapons one last time. "But if I do nothing, everyone here dies. At least this way they have a chance." Ji-won climbed into the shuttle and pulled a medical kit from her bag. "Your augmentations. You have not used them in years. Your body cannot handle it anymore." "I know. If you activate them now, they will burn out. Maybe permanently. The neural damage alone could leave you paralyzed." "I know that too." She was crying now. This young doctor who barely knew him. "Why? Why do you have to be the hero?" "I am not a hero," Tae-young said. "Heroes choose to fight. I am just a weapon that humanity built and then threw away. This is what weapons do. They get used until they break." He had tried to explain his augmentations to people before. They never understood. The procedures had changed him at a fundamental level. Made him faster and stronger, yes. But they also made him hurt. Every day. Every hour. His body was destroying itself slowly. The only reason he lived this long was because he kept the augmentations dormant. Used them as little as possible. But dormant augmentations were still there. Still burning through his cells. Still killing him one day at a time. Using them actively would speed up the process. Maybe by years. Maybe by decades. He would die either way. At least this way it would mean something. Ji-won grabbed his face and made him look at her. "Come back alive, please." "I will try." That was the only promise he could make. The shuttle launched. Tae-young flew it up through the atmosphere toward the waiting warships. His hands shook on the controls. Not from fear. From anticipation. His body remembered what was coming. The augmentations were waking up after 30 years of sleep. "This is the human called Tae-young," he broadcast on an open channel. "I am coming to Commander Vreth's flagship. Alone. Tell him the Reaper accepts his challenge." Static crackled. Then a voice responded. Deep and harsh. "This is Commander Vreth. You dare approach my fleet? You wanted me. Here I am. Let the colony go. Your fight is with me, not them. Why should I agree? I have you and the colony at my mercy." "Because you do not want mercy," Tae-young said. "You want revenge. For Proxima Gate. For all the warriors who died afraid. You want to prove the Reaper is just a man. So let me land on your ship. Face me yourself. Or are you afraid?" Silence. Long enough that Tae-young thought Vreth would refuse. "Then land in Bay 3. Come alone. If you try anything, the colony burns." "Understood." The shuttle approached the massive flagship. Up close, it was terrifying. Weapons everywhere. Armor thick enough to withstand a battleship's guns. A ship built for one purpose. War. Bay 3 opened like a mouth. Tae-young flew inside and landed. Through the viewport, he could see hundreds of Krill warriors waiting. All armed, all watching. Before he left the shuttle, he activated his augmentations. The pain was immediate and intense. His nerves screamed. His muscles spasmed. Blood vessels in his eyes burst, turning his vision red. But his body began to change. Reflexes sharpened. Strength increased. Time seemed to slow down as his brain processed information faster. He had forgotten how powerful it felt. And how much it hurt. Tae-young stood and walked to the shuttle door. Behind him on the pilot seat, he left his datapad. On it was a message for Ji-won. Just in case the door opened. Tae-young stepped out into the bay. 500 Krill warriors surrounded him. Their weapons were raised. Their eyes were hungry. They wanted blood. His blood. At the far end of the bay stood Commander Vreth. He was larger than most Krill. His armor was decorated with kill marks. Trophies from a career of violence. He stared at Tae-young with hatred that had burned for 30 years. "So," Vreth said, "the legend comes to die." Tae-young walked forward. Every step hurt. His augmentations were eating him alive. But he kept his face calm, showed no pain. Legends were not supposed to hurt. "The legend died 30 years ago at Proxima Gate," he replied. "I am just what is left." Vreth laughed. A harsh, cruel sound. "We shall see. Kill him." The bay erupted into chaos. 500 warriors surged forward, and Tae-young, the man once called the Reaper, prepared to face them all. In the colony below, Bo-Ra watched on the scanners. "He is insane," she whispered. "He is buying us time," Young-sik said. "Get everyone to the shelters." If Taeyong fails, at least we can die fighting. Ji-won watched too from the landing pad. She had stayed topside despite the danger, stayed to watch the shuttle disappear into the sky. Come back, she whispered to the stars. Please come back, but deep down she knew. Legends never came back. They died in glory and lived forever in stories. And Taeyong, for all his protest, was a legend. The first warrior died before he took 3 steps. Taeyong's shot was perfect. Through the gap in the helmet where neck met armor, the krill fell without a sound. Then everything became motion and violence. Taeyong moved through the bay like water flowing around rocks. His augmented reflexes made the warriors seem slow. He saw their movements before they completed them, saw the tell in their shoulders before they fired, the shift of weight before they charged. He used the environment. Cargo containers became cover. Support beams became obstacles that channeled the enemy into kill zones. He wasted no movement. Every shot found a target. Every step had purpose, but there were so many of them. For every warrior that fell, 2 more pushed forward. Taeyong's weapons clicked empty. He discarded them and picked up krill weapons from the dead. Used them until they too ran dry. Then moved to the next. Pain was constant now. His augmentations were burning hot. He could feel them destroying his body from inside. Blood ran from his nose. His vision blurred. But he could not stop. Not yet. A warrior with a blade rushed him. Taeyong caught the arm, twisted, broke it. Used the screaming krill as a shield against plasma fire. 3 shots hit the body before Taeyong threw it at the shooters and followed with his knife. Commander Vreth watched from his platform. His second-in-command, Captain Hicks, stood beside him. Hicks was older, more cautious. He had fought in the war but never at Proxima Gate, never seen the Reaper in person. Commander, Hicks said quietly, we should seal the bay. Vent it to space. Kill him cleanly. No, Vreth snarled. I want him broken. I want him to know that his legend means nothing. He has killed 30 warriors already. How many more must die for your revenge? Vreth struck Hicks across the face. The captain fell to one knee, blood dripping from his mouth. Do not question me again, Vreth growled. Every warrior here volunteered. They want to kill the Reaper as much as I do. But Hicks saw something in the bay that troubled him. The warriors were afraid, not of dying. Krill did not fear death. They feared something worse. They feared that the legend was real, that this human truly was unstoppable. Each body that fell fed that fear. Taeyong crashed through a cargo crate, 3 warriors on his back. He rolled, throwing them off. One he kicked hard enough to hear the armor crack. The second he shot point blank with a captured sidearm. The third he stabbed through the eye socket of his helmet. His augmentations screamed warnings. His heart rate was dangerously high. Blood pressure critical, neural pathways burning out. He had minutes left. Maybe less. 30 years ago, Taeyong had a brother. His name was Tae-il. They joined the military together, volunteered for Project Talon together, went through the augmentation procedures side by side. Tae-il died on the operating table. His body rejected the implants. Taeyong held his brother's hand as the life faded from his eyes. Taeil's last words were simple. Make it worth it. Make it worth it. The deaths, the pain, the transformation from man to weapon. Make it mean something. Taeyong had tried. Fought in the war. Held Proxima Gate, saved the civilians, and humanity still lost. The augmentations, the sacrifice, his brother's death, none of it mattered. The galaxy moved on. Humanity became irrelevant, and Taeyong was left alive, a broken weapon with no purpose. For 30 years he believed Tae-il's last words were impossible. You could not make tragedy worth it. Could not add meaning to senseless death. The best you could do was survive and try not to hurt anyone else. But now, in this bay, fighting for a colony of people he did not know. Maybe there was worth after all, not in being a legend, not in being a weapon, but in choosing to stand between danger and the innocent. Even if it killed him, especially if it killed him. Taeyong reached the bay's center. Bodies surrounded him. 50 dead, maybe 60. The remaining warriors had pulled back. They circled him at a distance, weapons ready but not advancing. They had seen too many die. Even warriors' courage had limits, cowards. Vreth roared from his platform. Kill him!
He is just a man.
But none moved forward. Captain Hicks watched his commander. Saw the madness in Vreth's eyes. 30 years of obsession had broken something in him. This was not about the Reaper anymore. It was about Vreth's own failure. his inability to move past a single defeat. "Commander," Hicks said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider. We have him trapped. We can negotiate terms." "Terms?" Vreth turned on him. "With a human? Never. They are weak. They lost the war. They lost everything, and still this one dares to stand against us. I will break him. I will show the galaxy that humanity has nothing left to be proud of." "By sacrificing how many of our own warriors?" Hicks asked. 60 are dead already." "For what, your pride?" Vreth drew his sidearm and pointed it at Hicks's head. "I told you not to question me." The bay went silent. All eyes turned to the platform. Warrior watched as their commander threatened to execute his own second-in-command. For speaking the truth, Hicks stood slowly. He was older than Vreth, had seen more battles, lost more friends. He knew when a cause was just and when it was madness. "You have become the thing you hate," he said quietly. "Obsessed. Broken. The Reaper at Proxima Gate haunts you not because he won, but because he showed you that Krill can be beaten. That you are not invincible, and you cannot accept it." Vreth pulled the trigger. The plasma bolt took Hicks in the chest. The captain fell from the platform to the bay floor below. He was dead before he hit the ground. Tae-Young watched it happen, saw the good soldier die for speaking truth to power, saw the madness in Vreth fully revealed, and understood something important. This was not about him. It never was. Vreth did not hate the Reaper. He hated what the Reaper represented, the possibility of loss, the fear that Krill's supremacy was a lie. Killing Tae-Young would not cure that, would not give Vreth peace. It would only make the obsession worse. "Vreth!" Tae-Young shouted. His voice echoed through the bay. "Look at what you have become. You killed your own warrior for doubting you. How many more will die for your pride?" "As many as it takes," Vreth screamed. "You will die here. Your legend will die. Humanity will know they have nothing. Humanity has never had anything," Tae-Young replied. "We lost the war. We lost our place in the galaxy. But we survived. Not because we are strong, because we refuse to give up. Kill me, make your point. It will not change anything. More humans will rise. More will resist. Because that is what we do." He was buying time now. His augmentations were failing completely. He could barely stand. Blood leaked from his eyes and ears. His muscles were tearing themselves apart. But if he kept Vreth talking, kept him focused here, the colony below had time to prepare. Vreth saw the blood, saw Tae-Young swaying on his feet, and smiled. "You are dying. Your body is failing. The Great Reaper brought low by his own enhancements. How fitting." "Yes," Tae-Young said. "I am dying. Have been for 30 years. The augmentations are poison. They give power, but they take life. I knew this. Chose this, because some things matter more than living." "Like what?" "Your weak species. Your pathetic colonies." "Like the choice itself," Tae-Young said. "You were born Krill, born strong. Never had to choose strength. I was weak. Human. At the bottom of the galactic order. But I chose to stand anyway. That choice means something. Not to you. To me." Vreth raised his weapon. A heavy plasma cannon. One shot would vaporize Tae-Young. "End this, then make your peace, human. The Reaper dies today." Tae-Young stood straight despite the pain, despite his body screaming for mercy. He thought of Tai-Il, of Hyunwoo and Soo-Jin and all the others who died. Thought of Ji-Won asking him to come back, of Bo-Ra's fighters who wanted to believe humanity mattered. "I have one more move," he said quietly. His hand moved to his belt, to the last grenade he had saved. Not a normal grenade, an EMP device, strong enough to shut down every system in the bay, including the artificial gravity, including the air recyclers, including the reactor safeties. "You are triggering the reactor overload," Vreth realized. "Yes, we will all die. Yes." "You would kill yourself just to stop me?" Tae-Young smiled. It was sad and tired. "I am already dead, Vreth. Have been since Proxima Gate. You want the Reaper? Here he is, not a legend. Just a man willing to die so others can live. That is all I ever was." He activated the grenade. The EMP pulse exploded outward. Every light in the bay went dark. Alarms blared, and deep in the ship's core, reactor safeties began to fail. Chaos erupted on the flagship. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. The ship's computer screamed warnings in Krill language. "Reactor containment failing. Meltdown in 10 minutes. All personnel evacuate immediately." Warriors scrambled for the exits. The discipline that made Krill feared across the galaxy broke down in the face of immediate death. They pushed and shoved, trying to reach the escape pods. Vreth stood on his platform watching it all fall apart. His obsession, his revenge, all of it crumbling because one human refused to die quietly.
He looked down at Tae-young, who had collapsed on the bay floor.
Barely conscious, bleeding from everywhere. For a moment, Vreth considered staying, letting the ship explode, dying with his enemy. At least then the story would end. The Reaper and the Krill commander locked in combat to the death. A tale worth telling, but survival instinct won out. Vreth was a warrior, but he was not suicidal. He turned and ran for the bridge. There were command pods there. Faster than the standard escape pods. He would live. And he would hunt Tae-young again. If the humans somehow survived this. On the bay floor, Tae-young could barely move. His augmentations had burned out completely. He was human again. Just human. Weak. Broken. Dying. He tried to stand, but his legs would not work. Neural damage too severe. This was it then. The end. Not glorious. Not meaningful. Just a man bleeding out on a cold metal floor while everyone else ran away. He thought of Tai-il. Would see his brother soon, wherever dead soldiers went. Could finally apologize for surviving when Tai-il did not. Could finally rest. But then he heard a sound. A small shuttle engine. Coming from the bay entrance. A tiny ship flew in, landing beside him. The door opened and Ji-won jumped out. "I told you to stay on the planet," Tae-young managed to say. His voice was weak. "And I told you to come back alive," Ji-won replied. She grabbed him under the arms and dragged him toward the shuttle. He was heavy. Dead weight. But she refused to leave him. "The ship will explode. You need to go. Not without you." She got him into the shuttle and jumped in after. The door sealed and she hit the throttle. The shuttle shot out of the bay just as the first explosion started. The flagship tore itself apart. Reactor containment failed completely. The blast was massive, bright enough to light up the entire planet below. The other 9 ships in the fleet scattered, fleeing the debris field. Ji-won flew the shuttle hard, pushing the engines past safe limits. Shrapnel from the flagship peppered their shields. Alarms blared. But they made it through. Made it to open space. Made it to safety. She looked back at Tae-young. He was unconscious. His breathing shallow, but alive. Against all odds, alive. 3 days later, Tae-young woke in a medical bed. His body hurt everywhere. A different hurt than before. Not the burning pain of augmentations. Just the normal pain of injuries and exhaustion. He tried to move and found he could not. His muscles would not respond. Ji-won appeared beside the bed. "Do not try to move. You have severe neural damage. I have stabilized you, but the recovery will be long." "Did it work?" he asked. "Is the colony safe?" "Yes, when your ship exploded, the Krill fleet retreated. They lost their flagship and their commander. The colony is safe." Tae-young closed his eyes. It worked. The desperate gamble paid off. People lived because he chose to act. Maybe Tae-il's words were right after all. Maybe it was worth it. "Your augmentations are gone," Ji-won continued. "Burned out completely. You are fully human now. No enhancements. No special abilities. Just a man." "Good," Tae-young whispered. "I always hated them anyway." Bora came to visit later that day. She stood at the foot of his bed, studying him. "The Reaper," she said. "You saved us. You are a hero. I am not a hero. Just a soldier who did what needed to be done. That is what heroes say." Bora smiled. "We want to honor you. Tell your story. Let the galaxy know that humanity still has warriors worth fearing." "No." Tae-young's voice was firm despite his weakness. "No stories. No legends. That is what caused this. Vreth's obsession with the legend destroyed him. I will not let that happen again. Let people think the Reaper died on that ship. Let the legend end. But you are alive. I am Tae-young. A mercenary. A man. That is all I want to be." Bora looked like she wanted to argue, but she saw something in his eyes. A weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion. The weight of 30 years carrying a legend he never wanted. She nodded slowly. "As you wish. But know this. You gave us hope. Not because you are the Reaper. Because you were willing to die for people you did not know." That matters. After she left, Young-sik appeared. He had hated Tae-young at first. Distrusted anyone from the old military. But he had watched what happened. Seen the choice Tae-young made. "We could use someone like you," Young-sik said. The resistance needs soldiers, leaders, people who understand how to fight. I am done fighting, are you? The galaxy is still dangerous. Humans are still at the bottom. We need every advantage. Then find young people with hope, Tae-young said. Train them. Build something new. The old ways failed. The old soldiers failed. Maybe the next generation can do better. Young Sik considered this, then nodded. Maybe you are right. Maybe we need to be something new. Not warriors seeking revenge, but people building a future. Elder Kethis visited on the 5th day. The lumen floated beside Tae-young's bed, glowing softly in the dim room. You have changed things, Kethis said. Not the way you think. Not through violence or legend, but through sacrifice. The other species saw what happened. Saw a human willing to die to protect his people. It has shifted perspectives. Small shifts, but important ones. I just did what needed to be done, Tae-young replied. Exactly. That is what makes it meaningful. You did not fight for glory, did not seek recognition. You simply chose to act when action was needed. That is the kind of strength that matters. Not physical power. Moral courage. Kethis paused, his glow dimming slightly. The Krill are spreading a story. They say their flagship was destroyed by a malfunction. That Commander Vreth died in an accident. They will not admit that one human brought them down. Good, Tae-young said. Let them lie. The truth does not matter. The colony is safe. That is all I wanted. Weeks passed. Tae-young's body slowly healed. The neural damage was permanent. He would never regain full mobility, would walk with a limp, would have tremors in his hands. But he was alive, and for the first time in 30 years he was free from the augmentations. Free from the constant pain, free from being a weapon. Ji-won helped with his physical therapy. She was patient, gentle, never treating him like the Reaper, just like Tae-young. A man recovering from injuries, what will you do now? She asked one day. When you are healed enough to leave? I do not know. Maybe find a quiet place. Open a shop. Fix things instead of breaking them. The colony needs people like that. People who know how to build. Are you asking me to stay? Ji-won smiled. Maybe I am. 3 months after the battle, Tae-young was released from medical care. He could walk again, though he needed a cane. His hands shook when he tried to hold small objects. But he was mobile, functional, human. He rented a small space in the colony, an old repair shop that the previous owner had abandoned. He filled it with tools, machines, things that needed fixing. People brought him broken equipment and he repaired it. No questions about his past. No whispers about the Reaper. Just honest work. Ji-won visited often, brought him meals, checked his health, stayed to talk. Slowly something grew between them. Not love, not yet, but the possibility of it. The hope that two broken people could maybe build something together. One day, a young girl came to the shop. She carried a broken toy, a mechanical bird that no longer flew. Her mother waited at the door, nervous. Can you fix it? The girl asked. Tae-young took the toy, examined it, found the problem. A loose wire in the motor. Simple repair. He fixed it in minutes and handed it back. The bird chirped and flapped its wings. The girl's face lit up with joy. Thank you, she said, then she paused, studying his face. Are you the man who saved us? The Reaper? Tae-young smiled. I am just a mechanic. My mom says you are a hero. Heroes are people in stories. I am real. Real people are never as good as heroes. The girl thought about this. I think real is better than stories. After she left, Tae-young sat in his shop, surrounded by broken things waiting to be fixed. Through the window he could see New Jeju, the colony growing, people building, living, hoping. Somewhere in deep space, a message arrived on a Krill warship. Commander Vreth read it in his quarters. It was from Tae-young. Simple words on a screen. The war ended 30 years ago. Let it stay ended. Vreth stared at the message for a long time. His hand hovered over the delete button, then over the reply button. In the end, he did neither. He saved the message, read it again, and again. He had hunted the Reaper for 30 years, lost everything to that obsession. His honor, his crew, his flagship, even his second-in-command, all for revenge against a legend. But the man in that message was not a legend, just a tired soldier asking for peace. Vreth made a choice. He ordered his fleet to change course, away from human space, away from revenge, toward something else, maybe toward redemption, maybe just toward forgetting. The hunt was over. On New Jeju, the sun set over the colony. Tae-young closed his shop and walked home. His cane tapped against the ground. His hands shook,